I begin this morning with a very personal and possibly awkward question. Do you consider yourself to be a holy person? This question probably makes most of us feel uncomfortable, even if we're inclined to try to answer it at all. We probably find it easier just to say no quickly and get on with other things. Do we think that holiness couldn't possibly apply to us? We might agree that people like Mother Teresa are holy, or the Pope. Definitely God is holy. And things such as the Ark in our sanctuary, the Torah scrolls in our prayer books are holy. And even the words in our prayer book are holy. And time can be holy, such as Shabbat and Yom Kippur. And moments can feel holy, such as the birth of a baby, a wedding couple's exchange of vows to one another, or the burial of a loved one. But can we ordinary human beings think of ourselves as holy in the context of our ordinary lives? But consider this. Our Torah reading this morning from Leviticus chapter 19, the very center of the Torah itself, began with these words. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber et kol adat b'nei Yisrael, ve'amarta alechem kiddushim tihiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai spoke to Moses saying, speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Adonai your God, am holy. You shall be holy. What might this mean for us? And does it somehow give us a way to feel more comfortable with thinking about ourselves as holy? Baruch Levine, in his commentary on Leviticus, says, holiness is difficult to define or describe. It is a mysterious quality. In the simplest terms, the holy is different from the profane or the ordinary. It is other. The holy is also powerful or numinous. The presence of holiness may inspire or strike fear or evoke amazement. The holy may be perceived as dangerous, yet it is urgently desired because it affords blessing, power, and protection. I'd like for us to look at this abstract and inchoate word through three different lenses: God's holiness, an individual's holiness, and a community's holiness, to see if we can make this idea of holiness more real and understandable to us. In our Torah verse it says, you shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. Earlier this morning we declared God's holiness in the Amidah, in the Kiddushah prayer. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melo Kol Haaretz Kivodo. Holy, holy, holy is Adonai Tzevaot. The fullness of earth is God's glory. What is God's holiness? Let's begin with the Hebrew word for holy, kadosh. It comes from the Hebrew root kuf dalet shin, meaning separate, apart, to set apart, also other and distinct. In describing God, we might add that holy means sacred, exalted, unique, awesome, and praiseworthy. Again, Baruch Levine can help us here. In Jewish tradition, he explains, the predominant view has been that this statement, that God is holy, was not intended to describe God's essential, but rather God's manifest or active attributes. To say that God is holy is similar to saying that God is great, powerful, merciful, just, wise, and so forth. These attributes are associated with God on the basis of observable actions. The statement that God is holy means, in effect, that God acts in holy ways. God is just and righteous. You shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. You, the individual, shall be holy. The rabbis understood this verse to mean that each of us should strive to be as much like God as possible, to imitate God, to emulate God. Sforno adds that we are supposed to be as much like God as possible because we were created, B'Tselem Elohim, in God's image. In a sense, we are born with an inner spark that we need to let shine. What follows our verse, as Rabbi Splansky mentioned, is a long list of some very practical ways to be holy. We might expect a series of instructions about our relationship to God, language concerning devotion to God, or an emphasis on ritual and prayer. And there are some. For example, we are told to keep Shabbat, not to turn to idolatry, and how to offer sacrifices properly. However, most of chapter 19 is a series of commandments which outline a beautiful moral code that touches upon nearly every aspect of human relationship. We are told to honor our mother and father, to leave the corners of our fields and some of our corn and vines, so the poor and the stranger may eat, to be honest with one another in our business dealings and in private relationships, to pay our laborers on time, not to oppress or hate our neighbors or to take advantage of the vulnerable. We must seek justice, avoid slander, and not stand idly by when our fellow suffers. And most importantly, we are to love our neighbor and the stranger as we love ourselves. You, the individual, shall be holy. To be holy, then, is to emulate God's qualities of kindness, compassion, respect, fairness, and a sense of responsibility in all of our relationships. It is precisely in everyday human interactions that we can find paths to holiness and to the daily encounters with God. In Judaism, an individual's path to holiness and to God is through the way we live in relationship with each other. Our path to holiness is not through isolation, seclusion, or meditating on a mountaintop like a hermit or a monk might do. Rabbi Dr. Rachel Adler, one of my professors at HUC in Los Angeles, describes Leviticus 19 as a compendium of ways to be in relationship rightly and justly with our neighbors and with God. She says we might call it an ethics of right relationship. And this ethics provides everyday ways to pursue holiness. You, the community, shall be holy. In most instances in the Torah, God instructs Moses to speak to the Israelites, B'nai Yisrael. But here in Leviticus 19, God instructs Moses to speak to the whole Israelite community, Kol Adat Yisrael. Why is Moses to address the whole community? Nechama Leibowitz teaches that the whole community was to be addressed because the instruction to be holy was not for the select few, not just for the priests, elders, and respected ones, but for all Jews, men, women, and children, leaders and non-leaders. For Leibowitz, every individual in the community has the potential to become holy, and therefore each and every person hears the instruction. The Sfat Emet, a 19th century Hasidic master, sees the instruction to be holy as a communal responsibility. The reason that you shall be holy was spoken in public assembly, he says, was because holiness could only have meaning in the context of community. Only in full assembly can we be holy. Similarly, Baruch Levine comments that holiness cannot be achieved by individuals alone, no matter how elevated, pure, or righteous. It can be realized only through the life of the community acting together. I can't think of a better way to conclude my remarks this morning than by describing some of the kinds of holiness I have been privileged to witness here at Holy Blossom Temple, our holy community, in the year and a half that John and I have been here with you. I've seen a staff that is dedicated to the people of this congregation, a staff that works hard and often goes the extra mile unflinchingly. I've seen committed learners of all ages coming together to struggle with the meaning of our texts and traditions and to discuss life's biggest questions with honesty, integrity, and candor. They are not only the students in our religious school, but they are also the adults who weekly attend Torah study on Shabbat mornings, the Wednesday morning class offerings, the adult B'nai Mitzvah class, and the Jewish information class for conversion candidates and their partners. I've seen cadres of volunteers who magnify the holiness of our community by the kind of work they do and the attitude and ruach they bring to that work and to each other. And I'd like to mention just a few of them. We have daily minyan and shiva service leaders, ushers and gabaim, Torah and haftarah chanters, and the temple singers, who bring sanctity to our prayers, to our prayer experiences, whether in this sanctuary, our chapels, or in private homes. We have lay leaders who put in an incredibly large number of hours to enable and empower all of us to fulfill the sacred mission of this congregation. We have a vibrant sisterhood and brotherhood that consistently finds ways to create a deeper sense of community by building meaningful relationships among congregants. We have Bikur Cholim volunteers whose kindnesses touch the lives of our congregants in their times of greatest need. We have social action projects such as Out of the Cold that bring compassion, respect, and a sense of responsibility to the most vulnerable in our larger community. And I could go on and on with many more examples. The number of opportunities for each of us to find paths to holiness within this congregation by volunteering your time is without limit. We have a new volunteer bureau here at Holy Blossom called Hineni that can help match your passions and talents with volunteer opportunities. Please connect with them. This is the hard part. I have felt blessed to be a part of this sacred community for this relatively short period of time that John and I have been here. John and I have been very warmly welcomed, and you have shared your lives with us. Your passions, your doubts, your joys, and your sorrows. And we thank you for that. And just as I have been blessed by you, now I would like to invoke the priestly benediction on your behalf. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bestow favor upon you and grant you peace. Shalom in the full meaning of that word of wholeness and harmony. May you continue to flourish like the Pirkei Kodesh, the blossoms of holiness, after whom you are named. Amen.